Hi guys. Okay, so the first one, it is more of, I don't know if it's a bug or what it is. So Molly, I need you to look into it. So this is a booking widget issue, and it goes back to story 3576 when we were making it that you could type in a promo code or a coupon code from the booking widget and have the rate automatically pop up. If you recall, when you type in a promo code in the booking widget and go over to Roomkey or over to ERES, you didn't have to check the promo button. But when doing a coupon, it would bring you over to ERES, and then you'd have to click the coupon and search again. So you fixed it that you didn't have to do that anymore. And then we talked about the category. Now, I think I know what's going on. So here, I just want to show you, Rodrigo looked into this. We're going to have Rodrigo do it, but because you had already worked on this area, and I had thought, I can't tell if it's a defect. I don't think it's a defect. I think I know what's going on. I'll get to that in a second. So it just talks about his findings about how we're sending promo code and the rate category ID to the variable. So let me go over here and I'll explain what I think you did. I'm just gonna check my there we go. We're good. Okay, so if I go to the booking widget and let's say I choose group rate and I type in where. Oh, never mind. Well, not never mind, but I think I know the issue. That's the issue. AAA rate and where. So if I choose rate category AAA rate and then go back to where and then click book now, there we go. I just saw it switch over. So you made it actually flip over to all categories in the widget so that when we would come over here, it would be on all categories. Because if we were sending both, and you made it, you can't click on the drop down anymore. Nice. Okay, so here's the problem though. Oxford has their own website and their own widget that they had someone build. And if you want to go to this website, Oxford Suites Bellingham, then you might even be able to look at the code because that's what Rodrigo did. He looked at the HTML and the Java and the code to figure out what was going on. So what's happening here is if you click on the drop-down, notice all categories is gone. They actually got rid of all categories. They didn't want to use all categories. They didn't like the look of that. They want specific rate categories. So the problem here is you choose PH Health. This one, it doesn't give the opportunity for it to flip back to all categories. So what happens is when you're sending PH Health, best available rate, and I go find your suites, so here, it looks like it flipped over to all categories, but it actually didn't. I can prove it to you. If I click search available again, now it works. So this is what Rodrigo was finding, that if you choose any of these, unfortunately, we can't switch back to all categories because they've disabled all categories. So Rodrigo's suggestion was instead of in the booking widget, because we can't control if people are going to take certain ones out from here, he was suggesting that when you send it over, we shouldn't even send the rate category. So we should just be saying, soon as they type in promo code, soon as they type anything in promo code, we shouldn't even send rate category. We should only be sending, or not sending. Sorry, when it gets over to ERES, we ignore the rate category when there's coupon group code or promo code. That's right, because we can't control what they're going to build into their widget. Some people won't have the rate category drop down. Some people will just have promo codes. So who knows? So for us, we have to make it that when it comes over to us here, we ignore the rate category they send and just go and use a coupon. So this is not a defect, but it is something that we need to address. So yeah, your task is going to have to be ERES ignoring the rate category when that field is filled in from the booking widget. Okay, good. Okay, next one is a full answer, and sorry, that story is 6351, booking widget issue. So let's go to the story that I need you to groom here, and it is 3856. And hopefully I've done enough that you guys can groom it in full and even get started on it, because I know that there is people looking for work right now as of tomorrow, I think. Well, I didn't meet with you guys. Okay, so as an accounts receivable manager, I need to set reminders and tasks on invoices for collections to be organized, to be more organized, to be organized. This is for Oxford, of course. Okay, so before I kind of get into this, if we go to QA testing, I go into operations, message center. We actually already have tasks in here. If I go into new entry, I'm going to go to create as task, and here you have attached to reservation. We're using this exact same kind of idea. Instead of attached to reservation, it's going to be attached to invoice. So the framework for this already exists, right? The who you send it to, the subject, the body, the reminders, and how that is all set is exactly the same. So we're not reinventing the wheel here. We have a good foundation to work from. You will notice that when I'm attaching to a reservation, notice that the task is repeatable, goes away, and we need that to happen the same thing with the attached to an invoice. Okay, so this is how we get into the message center here. I go into operations, message center, new entry. We're going to do this as a logbook entry task, create as new task, and attach to is kind of the idea that we're doing in here. You choose the date and time that you want the task to be for. So here, this is image one that I have attached to the and this will be a small UI change here. So we need to add an extra, I shouldn't say small UI change. There is a UI change. It's as big or small as it is. So we need to add an area for attaching a task to an invoice similar to the section that is designated attached to reservation. So what I've done here is I've modified this a little bit. Sorry, let me go back to the other room key here. So what you'll see here, see how it has attached to reservation? So instead here we're going to attach to, you have one checkbox, which is reservation, and another checkbox, which is invoice. Goes without saying, you can't check both, right? Has to be one or the other. You'll also notice here, instead of res ID, I've put invoice ID. Instead of arrival date, departure date, it is invoice date. And this is account number, so, or sorry, account name that the invoice is on. So this comes from the City Ledger area under Operations, City Ledger. If I go into my accounts, so the account name would be this Allswell Pumps. Invoice, there's the invoice number or invoice ID here. And the invoice date is the date that the invoice was created. We're going to pull that in. And the invoice name, we're going to pull in over to this area. So here I just said go to, we need to add the extra area, go to Operation Message Center, click New Entry in the lower left-hand corner, create a task, and then there it talks about attach to invoice. And I just said to attach to a reservation, we would click the box next to reservation to attach to an invoice. We would click the box next to invoice. And then I said, just like when clicking attach to reservation now, task is repeatable section with gray out. So that's what I showed you a moment ago. Here, create a task, attach to reservation, task is repeatable, gone. So if I clicked on attach to invoice, that would be gone as well. So let's go to 3856 image 2. I just talked about how we gray out that area. So I could have just brought that up. Okay, so then let's go to searching workflow and UI changes, see image 3. Okay, so what this explains here is if I'm in room key, I go to search res ID. We put in the res ID number here. Make sure 2022. 2022, I click search, and then it pulls in the name, the arrival date, and the nights. So the person has to know the res ID number. So it would be the same thing with the invoice number. So here I click on search res ID, and it brings us through that flow. Now this is the new flow. We're going to change that box. As soon as we click on invoice, the box changes. So we got search invoice ID. We're going to get invoice ID here. We're going to get the name, and that's the name of the invoice. And say if arrival date and night, it's going to be the account and the invoice date. So you put in the invoice number, click search. That will fill in the name of the invoice, the account name that the invoice is on, and the invoice date. And then when you come back after clicking OK, it's going to fill in the name, the account, and the invoice date. So again, just like we did here with reservation, if I do 2022 search, so see here nothing's filled in, but as soon as I click OK, it fills in, right? So same thing would happen for the invoice. Everything would fill in, then we would carry on. There we go. Okay. Next is Message Center's search UI change. Okay, so if you go to Operations, Message Center, in the lower, sorry, then click on My Task tab and go to Search. Here we have search for task options, and here's attached to res ID. I put in 2022. So same thing here. We're going to have to do here we have the attach to reservation ID like we had before. Now I want to add a new box attached to invoice ID. And I just talked about here, we will need to gray out the checkbox on search for reservation ID if search for invoice ID is checked, and vice versa. So in other words, I can't check both, right? I can't search for both at the same time. So if I'm searching for a reservation, then the attached invoice will gray out. If I click on attach invoice, then the attach to reservation ID would gray out. And then the function would work the same. We would see the task attached to that in the report here. So if I go back to 2022, click search. I don't think I put on anything, but you would see the tasks. Okay, so now we need to add something in the invoice, but before I go to that, this explains how it works on a reservation right now. So if I go to 3856 here, so when you have a reservation, you actually have a task tab. On the task tab, you can click new task in the lower left-hand corner. And what you'll notice is it goes directly to logbook entry task. The created task is already selected and it's grayed out. You can't change it. And attached to reservation is clicked and you can't unclick it. The res ID, arrival date, departure date is all filled in. So we would do the similar thing. Oh, and sorry, and then after you complete putting in the task, you'll actually see the last comment by, the room change, the date, or sorry, the subject, the date, and the due on in here. Funny enough, the date is actually the time. But anyways, you match what is in there now. We're not going to reinvent the wheel on this. So the idea would be, here, let me just show you in room key. I'm going to go to change stay on Alec Mac here. Go to task, go to new task. See here how created task is all grayed out and attached to reservation is grayed out. So I can't change it to something else when you're doing the shortcut from the reservation. Same thing should happen in the invoice, right? Because if you just went into Message Center and did new entry, you could change these things. I can go to general message, but that I don't want them to be able to do that from the reservation. I could go to create as a task or task is repeatable. All that you want gone, right? It's going directly to log as entry task, create task, and attach to invoice, right? From the invoice area. So the idea here would be, it would look something like this. So if you go into Operations, City Ledger, you're going to open up the invoice, open up the account. You're going to go to the invoices. You're going to open up the invoice. Here's the tabs for the invoice. So we're going to add the new tab, tasks. Look exactly like it does on the reservation screen. I put the new task down here in the lower left-hand corner. That's where I figured it would live, but I'm open to, if you guys want to put that somewhere else, whatever is available kind of in this area. I kind of looked at all the other ones, and I notice here if I go to transfer, right, some other buttons pop up down below, but then when I got to notes, there's a new here, so you must be able to put it in here somewhere. So this is what makes sense to me because it's consistent with the reservation. And again, it would bring you into the compose message, shortcut into the message center, but here the invoice is selected. That should be grayed out too. I didn't put that on the UI. That's grayed out, that's grayed out, that's grayed out, right? It's automatically selected. It's forcing you to go into that invoice. The invoice ID would be filled in, which I didn't do here. Invoice ID number would be filled in. I did not do it here. Should be filled in just like on the reservation Reservation 1, the name, the account, and the invoice will be filled in, and I would go ahead and enter in my task. And then we would save the task, and it would save on there. There's a couple of settings and permissions. So under System Configuration Property, there is a delete old task and messages for 30, 45, and 60 days. Ignore this display advanced invoice thing. It's just this one here. And then under System Configuration Clerks, Permissions, Operations, 1553, allow view edit tasks by other users. So right now I can only see the tasks assigned to me, but this one would, or made by me, but this one allows me to see tasks made by other users, not specifically assigned to me to see them. And that is it, hopefully. I think maybe part of the story might be you going in and playing around with the message center a little bit and seeing how that works with tasks and whatnot. But hopefully it is pretty straightforward. So if you can task that out, and then we can do clarifications tomorrow. But if someone's looking to start on something, this would certainly hopefully there's enough in this to give them something to start on. Okay, thanks guys. I'll talk to you at the end of your day, 7:30 my time. Thanks, bye.